And in 2017, we became a totally mindful school. And I'm going to take you through the process of how we got there, what we did, and it's still going on. The work is just continuing each year, and it's very powerful. So we started off with, we defined mindfulness. And when I say me, this process started with my principal, my school social worker, and myself, and I'm the school counselor. And as a school counselor, I have always done mindfulness with my students, individually and in group, but had never thought of taking it school-wide. I don't know why, that thought never came to me. So our school social worker said, I really would like us to become a mindful school. And it was like an aha. Oh, well, that's a great idea. Let's do that. So the three of us planned over the summer what we were going to do. In that week before school starts, when the teachers are back and the students are not yet back, we worked with the teachers during that week, and we defined what mindfulness was. We took them through some experiences. We got them to brainstorm ideas they thought would work within their classrooms and within the school. And we hit the ground running. So the first few slides, I'm just going to take you through some things you already know, but these were the foundational things that we needed to decide upon. So our definition of mindfulness, here as you can see, was just being aware, noticing, and experiencing our thoughts, feelings, and sensations. And the biggest part of that, I think, was staying in the present moment without judgment. And that's a really hard thing to do. And I find, I don't know if it's equally hard for dads and men, but it's very hard for women and moms, especially. And so it was allowing ourselves to be present for life. And that was the definition, our working definition. And then we had our teachers think about what one word comes to mind when you see these photos. And just, anybody, if you have a word that you want to call out.
Okay, light.
Right. And it's kind of represents our everyday life.
Hectic.
Hectic.
Frenzied.
Yes, harried and hurried. And this is my really nice video that I would show you if it were working. And this was what comes to mind. It's a video of an ocean and the waves. And when you think about mindfulness, that's what usually comes to mind, is when we feel that warm breeze come across our face. We feel the heat of the sun. We're able to breathe in and breathe out and let go of a lot of the emotions that we're carrying. There was the video. Just try it one more time and see if it'll cooperate. You saw it briefly. There it is. Just see if it'll come. No, it's not. Okay, so the experience of mindfulness we talked about next, and as I said, that was that feeling when you experience looking at the ocean, you're listening to the waves. But we wondered, can we experience mindfulness amidst all of that chaos of our everyday life? And that's what we wanted to bring to our students because of all of the trauma that they have experienced and are continuing to experience, the things that we're dealing with each and every day as educators and a lot of us as parents. Could we still remain mindful in the midst of all of that? And we answered absolutely. So we talked about what are the benefits of mindfulness. Why would we want to go through taking our school through this entire experience? And it allows us to respond instead of react. And we developed our ability to identify our emotions emotions. You know, as a counselor, every year from kindergarten on, I taught the kids all the emotions. You know, this is sad and this is angry, but it wasn't really having them experience the emotion and understanding that they had some control over how they experience that emotion. It changes our relationship with our feelings and emotions. And the purpose is to become familiar with that entire spectrum of our emotions and be able to express them and how we relate to them. And a lot of times when I go into the classrooms and I ask the kids, you know, what's mindfulness? And the first thing they'll say is calm. But that's really just a byproduct. Calm is not what mindfulness is. It's a byproduct of mindfulness. So we talk about that it is experiencing all of those emotions and then being able to choose how you want to proceed. So this is where our journey began. And I told you as a school counselor the things that I've done with my own students. But I noticed our principal, and our principal, now she's 40, she's been a principal for 10 years, is one of the best leaders I've ever worked under, and I've been an educator for 30 years. And when she's called to a classroom, and this is after, as the counselor, you know, I've been called down to try to calm the student down and, you know, have the student come to my office, but if that's not working and the student is potentially could cause harm to the other students, she'll come down. And it helps that she's, you know, real pretty and petite and they just love seeing her, but she gets those kids through a very mindful approach to come with her each and every time. And like everyone else stands back like, I mean, just in awe. But because she is such a mindful person and so mindful of their feelings and their emotions, she's able to gain this cooperation that I've never seen in other administrators before. And I've had other good ones as well. So we're very lucky at my school to have the personnel that we do. But when the three of us, in the very beginning, the very first day of school, the three of us met with all of the students by grade level. So, for instance, we have the whole 5th grade in the gym, and the three of us did a presentation. And we taught the students 5-finger breathing, and I'm sure you're all familiar with breathing in through your nose, out through your mouth, in through your nose, out through your mouth. So all of our students understand how to do the 5-finger breathing. They use this tool when they're feeling really, they're starting to feel their emotions rise, maybe in the cafeteria, maybe on the playground, maybe in the classroom, and they can do it just under their desk. They can just take their finger and no one needs to know that they're doing it. And then as time has gone on, we've progressed to shape breathing, and we take them through just breathing in and out through each component of the different shapes. And we also, in that meeting with all the kids, we taught them about growth mindsets, and we taught them about empathy. So that was our 45-minute presentation, was introducing them to mindfulness, what it would look like in their classroom, what it would look like in the school, and about having a growth mindset and the power of yet. I don't know how to do that yet. The next step, and this started in classrooms, this was, now we're done with the 45-minute presentation with the three of us. We moved into the classrooms and we taught the students how to breathe. And I don't know if everybody else just is a natural breather, but I'm not. I struggled with breathing. I breathed from my lungs. I always thought, oh, that's where the air is, that's where you breathe. And my husband, who's a veterinarian, explained to me the whole thing about the diaphragm, and I never understood how that works. So we showed the kids, we showed them photos, we showed them a video, we explained how you do diaphragmatic breathing. And we have big baskets in the room with little belly bunnies, and they can get those and lay on the ground and put it on their stomach and watch the belly bunny go up when they breathe in and go down when they breathe out. And that is something they love to do. And with the older kids, we just have them in their seats, just put their hand on their belly and just feel themselves breathing in and then breathing out. And with the breath, to me this poem really resonated because it let me see the big picture of how the breath, the role that it plays in our lives. And since it's hard to read, I know you all know how to read, but I'll read it to you because it's hard to see. What makes a fire burn in space is space between the logs, a breathing space. Too much of a good thing, too many logs packed in too tight, can douse the flames almost as surely as a pail of water would. So building fires requires attention to the spaces in between, as much as to the wood. When we are able to build open spaces in the same way we have learned to pile on the logs, then we can come to see how it is fuel and the absence of fuel together that makes the fire possible. We only need to lay a log lightly from time to time. A fire grows simply because the space is there, and open with openings in which the flame that knows just how it wants to burn can find its way.
Is that Judy Brown?
Yes, Judy Brown. I just thought that was beautiful and really explained it well. So we asked ourselves, why teach mindfulness? Why take our school and turn our whole school into a mindful school? And according to the American School Counselor Association journal, January, February 2019, anxiety disorders affect 1 in 8 children and teens. And that's pretty alarming. And most of you, if you've been in education a while, you've seen that increase over time. And more than a quarter of the teens report experiencing extreme stress during the school year. So if, as we all know, if it's untreated, it can drastically impact a child, not only physically through the risk for self-harm, but their ability to succeed in school. And that's where we wanted to make sure that we were having the best impact we could. And we researched quite a bit and had our teachers research as well. But adults who learn mindfulness report decreased stress and burnout and greater efficacy in doing their jobs. And we have seen that we begin every faculty meeting and every committee meeting with a mindfulness practice. And you can just see the teachers letting go of whatever they bring in the door. And that makes a difference, of course, when they go into the classrooms. Students who learn mindfulness show improved cognitive outcomes, such as reduced attentional problems. And what we were seeing was every year our kindergartners, it's like someone is giving them water or something, that is changing their personalities and the way that they're coming into school in a way that we've never seen before. I mean, we're seeing a lot more of just students with a tremendous amount of emotional problems coming into school. So we wanted to help the attentional problems, improve the focus. We wanted to help them with especially their emotional regulation. And our school is big on kindness and compassion, but it's hard when you're trying to teach all of that at school, and then there's so much happening in the outside world that's teaching a different message. So we wanted to really equip them with skills they can use in every situation. So we also learned how mindfulness changes the brain. And we wanted to have happier kids, happier teachers, and happier families. So, as you all know, with the lizard wizard brain, we had to teach the kids what that means. That your lizard brain, if you think about a lizard that's just laying in the sun, basking in the warm sun, and you walk up, what's he going to do? He's going to run. He's feeling danger, 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 sensing danger. And we explain to the kids that that lizard brain is your amygdala. It's trying to warn you. It's your protector brain that's warning you that there's danger. And it's firing off all kinds of messages. The trouble is that the information that you need to get to your prefrontal cortex so that you can focus, make good decisions, you can compute, you can analyze, that information can't get from your amygdala to your prefrontal cortex when it's being held captive by your amygdala. So we have to become aware of what the amygdala is doing. It's trying to protect you, but you don't really need protection. You know, we don't live in the caveman age where they had to have their amygdala be firing off all the time, messages to protect them. So the kids learn about their lizard brain. They learn about their wizard brain, or their wise brain, their prefrontal cortex. And that if we can do enough mindfulness to relax the amygdala and get the information to the prefrontal cortex, then it will move to the hippocampus where it's stored as memory. So the kids love this, and at any time when you walk through our school, if there's a student that is being disruptive, we will talk with them and we'll ask them, who's doing the thinking right now? Is it your lizard brain? Do you want your lizard brain to be in charge? Or do you want your wizard brain? Do you want to use your wizard brain? And they can understand all that, and they think it through, and it does help them to make different decisions. Now, you've probably seen the visual, which is a great video, on how the brain works when you do the hand model. You all familiar with the hand model? Okay, then good. I'm glad you're not missing that video because it's tremendous. But we also show the kids how, with our calming bottles, every classroom has a calming bottle, and we show them how your brain looks like the calming bottle all shaken up when your amygdala is in control. And so once everything in the calming bottle settles down, that's when all the thinking and decision making can really occur. So the hand model, basically it's like the amygdala is like the barking dog, and the prefrontal cortex is like the wise owl. But we can't hear the wise owl if the barking dog is overpowering it. So we need to calm the barking dog. Impulse control, we work a lot with the students on that, and we try to help them, first of all, notice when they're being impulsive, to notice what they're feeling, what they want to do. And we do a lot with literature. We have, there's a book called Mind Bubbles, and so we'll have the students sitting down and we'll blow bubbles, and we'll ask them to do what comes to their mind, what the first thing is they want to do. So of course they impulsively get up and they want to step on the bubbles, they want to knock in the bubbles, they want to pop the bubbles. And then we ask them to sit back down. And this time when we blow the bubbles, we want them to just observe. Just watch the bubbles. See where they fall. See how many bubbles come out with one wand. And the students start to really notice what's happening and control their impulses. And we couple that with the Mind Bubbles book. And we also teach them that the only way that you can really control your impulses is by doing the inner work, by really going inside and becoming aware of the fact that I am being impulsive, the fact that I am doing something without thinking and I'm reacting rather than responding. Okay. So I'd like to take you through a mindfulness practice. And if you're comfortable, if you could just put down your pens and your papers and get into a comfortable position. And we do a lot with working with the heart. And we tell the students that if they're comfortable, they can put their hand on their heart when we do a mindful practice. And teachers, they spend 10 minutes every day doing a mindful practice with their students. So if you're comfortable, close your eyes or lower your gaze and just invite your body to soften. If you're comfortable, put your hand over your heart and just be present with the rise and the fall of your chest. Just stay there for a little while. The simple act of placing your hand on your heart sends feelings of care towards yourself and others. This benefits them and especially helps to recharge and balance your own system. As you bring compassionate awareness to yourself, focus on your breath. Breathe in like you are smelling a flower, and breathe out like you are softly blowing out a candle. Continue to just focus on your breath without judgment. Breathing in and slowly exhaling. Like the gears of a car, your thoughts may try to go forward to the future. Just notice them and pull your attention back to your breathing. Deep breath in and slowly exhale. Deep breath in and slowly exhale. Your thoughts may try to go in reverse to the past. Just notice the thoughts and focus back on your breath. Breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. Not judging the thoughts, just noticing and refocusing on your breath. Notice how your body is nourished on the in-breath and relaxes on the out-breath. Start to notice the rhythm of your breathing, flowing in and out, like the tide coming in and going out. Let your breathing be all that there is. When you are ready, allow your eyes to slowly and gently open. And we teach this to our students. They can do this quietly when they sit at their desk. They can do this when they're in a stressful situation. And it's a tool that they're able to access whenever they need. So emotional regulation, Dr. Christopher Willard, and if you haven't read any of his work, he's phenomenal. He says that mindfulness doesn't make us happier exactly, but it helps us know deeply when we are happy. Or it helps us know clearly when we are happy and when we are unhappy. And I think that's a really important concept. This isn't like a magic pill, where every child is all of a sudden going to be able to focus clearly and understand all their emotions. This is just a way to awaken and to help us realize that we do have control over things that before we might have felt were were just controlling us. He also says that it creates the conditions for more joy and happiness to enter our lives. And we all know that kindness is good, but what's really interesting is how compassion and generosity impact the structure of our brain. And these qualities actually start to affect our behavior. So we explained to our students how your brain continues to grow into your 20s. And when we talk about the different areas that they think that they are good at or they can't do, we talk about how your brain hasn't finished growing yet. And the more that you use that part of your brain, the bigger it gets, and the smaller the part you're not using becomes. So we built a school-wide culture of mindfulness, kindness, and gratitude. And a huge part of what I wanted to show you was this video of what mindfulness looks like at my school, at Tyler. But that isn't going to happen. But what I can tell you are the results. But I can explain a little bit of the video. When you walk through our schools, our classrooms all have seating that the children can choose. We have the big balls they can choose to sit on. We have crates they can choose if that's an easier space for them. They don't have to sit at desks or tables. We have pillows in the room, so they can choose where they're most comfortable. And I'm trying to think what else is in the video. It takes you through, there's one classroom in particular, a first grade classroom, where we have a family. There are 3 boys and 1 girl, and the parents split probably 4 years ago in a really, really nasty situation, and the kids have had a tremendous amount of trauma, and they need a whole lot of TLC and redirection. And in this video, when you see this first grade class, in the mindfulness practice, the one boy from that family who has had, in the past, he's been suspended, he's been, just everything you can imagine, discipline-wise, was put into place in kindergarten. And then in first grade, we went to a totally different approach with him. And he is in such a deep, mindful state. It's just a beautiful thing to see. And he can go there whenever he feels he needs to regroup and refocus. So that's in the video as well. But what we did, year 1, we started with the 10-minute commitment a day that I talked to you about. And all of the teachers still continue that. And this started in 2017. The school social worker and I did small groups with students, and at that time we were just pulling the students that were at risk of not passing. In Virginia we have the SOL test, Standards of Learning. I know every state has different ones. I know shit on luck, yeah, but yeah, we use that one always. But the SOL testing, and so we, Erica, the school social worker, and I each had different small groups, and we met with kids who were kind of on the bubble. They were at risk of not passing their SOL test, and we took them through a 6-week mindfulness group and did different activities with them, taught them different skills that they could implement, and then I'll show you what the results were of that. Then year 2, our teachers as readers, we read actually Tish Jennings' book. The first book was by it's hard to say, Thich Nhat Hanh.
Yes.
Happy Teachers Change the World. And that's a tremendous book. So our whole staff read that book, and then as teachers, we all talked about that. And then in our, we did the small groups again. Then we went in and did whole class lessons with each different class, each different grade level. And one of them we made, and I have a recipe I can send to you. I think I did bring 5 copies down with me. But we make this Play-Doh. It's a scented Play-Doh. And it is so soft, so incredible. And so we have each student, we give each of them a ball of the Play-Doh. And they hold that while we take them through a mindful meditation. And we, have them just go through smelling it, not tasting it, but smelling it, and experimenting with it, putting their finger in and seeing what happens to the dough. And they love that. And that's one of the things that in our another thing we've done is the Mindfulness Club. And so before school, there's kids that can sign up for the Mindfulness Club, and they made a mindfulness box for each classroom. And in the mindfulness box, I have that listed on another page. Everything is in there.
Are you able to send these slides after? Would we be able to do that?
Yeah, I can for sure. Sure. But in the mindfulness kit, we have breathing cards, shape breathing wheels, breathing beads, the sensory Play-Doh, a yoga mat, and a cushion. We got a grant and bought those things. So the Mindfulness Club put together that box for each different classroom. I'll show you the recipe. I only made 5 copies of the recipe, but I'll put one on each table so you can see what the recipe looks like, and then I can send this to anybody that would like it. I'll have you guys share that one. So it's a very simple recipe, but it lasts for a long time, and the kids really love that. Oh, and I didn't, let me just go back to that last video. Year 3, every class had the monthly lessons again. And each teacher every day does mindfulness with their students, every meeting, and then the clubs. And then we also had students make videos of themselves leading a mindful practice. And the videos were available to teachers to play anytime. So say that you just brought your class in from recess, you want to get them to calm down. You can access the school-wide videos and play the mindfulness video for the students. So cultivating the mindfulness in our school, we had the monthly 30-minute classroom lessons. Mindfulness committee, we meet once a month, and we come up with what we're going to do school-wide to continue to share mindfulness practices. And we changed our mission and our vision to include mindfulness. We have a family mindfulness night, and that's been a huge success, where we invited the families, and we have different classrooms set up with different stations, and then in the gym, or it's actually the cafeteria, we set up different stations as well. So they could build a calming bottle, they could do yoga in one classroom, we had iPads set up where they could go into mindfulness apps and become familiar with those. We had a room set up where we would lead them through a mindfulness practice. We had the Play-Doh where they could, we had that set up. You can't have them make it at school because it's got to be on the stove and it's heated. You have to heat it for a short amount of time. So the family mindfulness night was extremely successful, and the parents all buy into what we're doing. So we have the family support, student support, faculty support, and of course, the most important is the administrative support. And let's see, classroom calming boxes. We also have tents in the classroom. They're hanging tents where the student can go if, not as a discipline, not like, okay, you go to the tent, you misbehave. It's set up where I am aware I'm getting out of control. I feel like I'm not making the best choices. I'm going to go and just chill out. And then they just stay in there for like 5 minutes. And at first, when it was a novelty, there was a little bit of taking advantage of it. But once they understood what it was really for, they really, it makes a difference. It's like when, if you have someone, sit in timeout, like when, at home, when you're growing up, and when you can come back to the group or come back to the family, when you can make the choices, you come back. We don't tell them that. It's not set up that way, but they kind of follow that process where they go and they take time to really think and then come out and respond rather than react. And it's been really successful. We also have class mindful ambassadors. So each teacher selects a male and a female that are the ambassadors. And they lead the mindfulness practice. They might hit the chime to start the practice and the other one to end the practice. They come up with ideas in the classroom that they could do mindful ideas. So that's really been successful. We used to have our school, the mascot is the Tomcats, and so we used to have Tomcat greeters that would be there to help new students, and they would help the substitute if the sub had any questions. But now it's the mindful ambassadors that are really leading the way. So our monthly classroom lessons, we use a lot of different resources. And even if you're middle or high school, all of these can be adapted to the level that you teach. But for elementary, these books have been just outstanding. The kids, they love hearing them. And so we incorporate, as I mentioned before, the mindful bubbles. We do listening activities. We have an egg carton that has those plastic Easter eggs you can get that open up. So 6 of them are filled with all different things, and then the other 6 are filled with all different things that match one of the ones from the first 6. So they're in this egg carton, and then the kids in pairs have to shake it and try to find a match. So that's one of the examples of mindful listening. And this was the family mindfulness night. I think I went over everything. Oh, we did body mapping with the mindfulness night as well, where we had the outline of the body and colored pencils, and the parents and students had to indicate where they were holding the most stress. And once you are aware of that, like I never knew, whenever I'm stressed, my shoulders are up like this. And now that I've become aware, I'm like, why are you doing that? Like, just relax your shoulders. And it's helped me to be aware of where I'm holding my stress and how to release it, which I never knew before we started doing all of this. Okay, I went over the calming tent. We do the mindful eating at the family mindfulness night, where they have to taste different things, and then they have a sheet they fill out and identify, was it sweet, was it sour, was it rough, was it smooth?
So they're like blindfolded, or?
No, they're just becoming aware. Okay. But being blindfolded would be a great way to do it too. We did not do that, but I like that. And then the mindful coloring. One of the things in the video shows that when you walk in our school, all along is a huge wall. The coloring thing is probably as big as this whole area here. And when the students walk in, they can do the mindful coloring, the big poster that we have up. We we have a school-wide mindfulness week. And you know how you have the drop everything and read? Well, we do the drop everything and be mindful, and then there's a whole school practice during that time. And recently, the school social workers set up where the students did a mindful practice with another school in another part of the world. So that was really amazing. They did the Change Your Life dance, the Make and Take reading beads, and share your favorite way to be mindful. And that was all during the school-wide mindfulness week.
What is a Change Your Life dance?
If you Google it, you'll see what it is. And the kids all did this in the gym together. It's pretty cool. Okay, I did the club. Make sure I'm time. Okay, 8 minutes. This was just a simple poster that when we want the kids to be aware of the importance of being mindful of how they treat others, how they interact with others, and of course how they treat themselves. But this was a little poster we came up with about spreading kindness, and our slogan was kindness counts and mindfulness matters and kindness counts. And so when they see this in the hallway, some of them will just take their 5 slow belly breaths, focus on your happy place, practice progressive muscle relaxation, get moving, and show kindness and compassion to others. So that was just kind of a reminder of what we're all about. Okay, now to get into the data, Erica, our social worker, she had applied for a grant that got us started on all of this. And she had 4 areas, 4 key components on which she focused. And they were emotions, attention, focus, acceptance, flexibility, and awareness. And she created with the person in our district in charge of research and data and all of that, she created a mindfulness assessment that then they were able to go in and they were able to collect the data and desegregate it. So one example is, you can't really see any of this too well, and she only is making this available if people request it and they're going to really use the data because she's very protective over this. But one of the questions was, tell me about a time that you used mindfulness. Another one, when thinking about the time you described above, describe the emotions you had before using mindfulness and after using mindfulness. So these were, in their own words, one of the students said, before using, well, this was a teacher, before using mindfulness with my students, I felt there wasn't a way to reach students and their emotions. Now with mindfulness, I can be specific on how being mindful can help my students learn. But I love this one. A 3rd grader said, I close my eyes and take deep breaths, and I let the butterflies in my stomach stop flying. Isn't that beautiful? And then another school counselor said, I was processing a kind wishes mindfulness activity that I did with a 2nd grade class, and when I asked how the activity made them feel, a student said that his anger felt like fire and mindfulness felt like a bucket of water being poured onto it. And I think that's so true of what this is doing for our kids, the tools that it's providing.
It's 11:20. You gotta finish up soon.
Thank you. 5 minutes, right?
I guess.
Oh, it's 11:20. I'm supposed to end. Okay. I
Finish up.
Okay. I will finish up. Thank you. All right. I'm going to just go real quickly to the discipline data. So hard to read. This shows 15, 16, 16, 17, 17, 18, and 18, 19. And these are students referred for level 3 behaviors. And On this one over here, this was out of school suspensions. 2015-16, 17-18, I'm sorry, 15-16, 16-17, 17-18, and 18-19.
Do you know if that's each incident they've been sent to the office for behavior or level 3s, or if it's just a student? Like one student might be referred a number of times.
Yeah, that's true. That can be the case. I can think of that with a couple of them. I don't know how many students. That's a great question. And just real quickly with our SOL test data, with the groups that we did and what we were doing in the classroom, 21 4th and 5th grade students who were identified as at risk participated in a 3-session mindfulness group for test taking. This was an additional thing. And 16 out of 21 passed their reading SOL test, 14 out of 21 passed their math SOL test, and 9 out of 10 4th grade students passed their Virginia Studies SOL test. So you can see that it's making a big difference, especially with those students. So just to wrap up, the mental benefits of mindfulness. The brain research obviously supports all of this, and it shows with attention that the studies show improved attention and focus as well as improved grades, emotional regulation, increased regulation of intense emotions, compassion, more likely to help someone in need and show greater compassion on their measures following mindfulness training, and calming, reduces levels of stress and anxiety. So the bottom line is that mindfulness changes the brain. And there's a great video called Why Mindfulness that's on the mindfulschools.org, and that's definitely worth accessing. I was going to have you turn and share one thing you learned today that you can implement, but because we're out of time, I hope that you will think about what you can implement. And I'd like to leave you with this last quote by Lao Tzu. If you are feeling depressed, you are living in the past. If you are feeling anxious, you are living in the future. And if you are at peace, you are living in the present. So I wish you many, many moments of mindful peace. Thank you very much.
Thank you.